Good evening, flaunters. Hope you're well tonight. Hope you are well, hope you are well. I'm just going to give it a few minutes to see if anyone is popping in to say hi. If you're there, pop in, drop me a wee comment, say hello, I'm listening. If you've got any particular questions you'd like to ask me, then please do that as well. So tonight I am going through exercise in pregnancy and some considerations that you want to maybe take on board if you are pregnant or planning to be pregnant, and how to exercise at that stage, and hopefully give you some tips and some guidance on what to do. And then I can talk you through my Fit for Delivery programme that I'm going to be starting in a couple of weeks' time. So if anyone is there, drop on, say hi, and just ask anything that you've got to ask if you want. So for anyone who doesn't know me, my name's Pam. I run Flaunt Fitness UK, and I've got another page called Fit Mums and Bumps as well, which I have not been posting as much on that at the moment. It's all kind of been focused on the Flaunt Fitness page, but there is a lot of information in that as well. So I have been teaching fitness classes for, oh my goodness, 20 years, 21 years this year. And I have always taught people through pregnancy. And when you, as an instructor, so one of the first things that you want to consider if you are pregnant and you're exercising is that your instructor should hold a qualification to have you in their class, because it's not something that you cover on general courses. So they should have at least an exercise, level 3 in exercise prescription for pregnancy and postnatal. And always just ask the instructor. If an instructor says to you, oh, it's okay, just keep it low impact and take it easy, then I would probably question if they were qualified to have you in the class, because there's a lot more consideration that you need to take in when somebody's pregnant and they're exercising. So if they're quite vague and don't give any specifics as such, then I would kind of question whether you should be doing that type of class anyway. So I've always, when I started out classes, I done my pregnancy and postnatal qualifications. So I've always taught girls, pregnant ladies in my class, and had them postnatally. And then after I had my oldest child, my little girl Heidi, she's like 5.5, and when I was pregnant with her, and then after I had her, I was quite shocked in the lack of support and guidance and treatment of new mums after they were having babies. And I kind of knew everything about pregnancy, so I didn't actually ask anybody for advice on that. But even the midwife saying to me, oh, what can you do and what type of exercise? So from that point of view, midwife is very highly trained, yes, in the pregnant body and birth, but not necessarily when it comes to the exercise advice. And the midwife that I had, I was very lucky to have the same midwife through all my pregnancies, and she was really intrigued and felt that she learned a lot as well from just some things that I'd said to her. So I took it on myself just to do some more in-depth training. Went down to London to study with a company called Burrell Education, and looked a lot more in-depth at what we can do for pregnant mums. So that's just a little bit of background on where I am, so you know that I am giving you sound advice. And I have been running Fit for Delivery for I think maybe about 3 years now, which is a 6-week course, and I'll give you some more information on that at the end. So a couple of questions that have come in recently on pregnancy. So people who are early pregnancy in that first trimester, whether you're before your 12-week scan or maybe just about that 13 weeks or so, what exercise should you do? So you are able to carry on with what you have currently been doing. If you've been doing any type of classes or whatever, it just really depends on your energy at that point, because that first trimester is such a shift in your energy systems that you're pretty much exhausted the whole time. You might be sick, or you might not be physically sick, but you certainly feel nauseous a lot. So it really just depends on how you're feeling. Try not to put pressure on yourself. If you do feel too tired to do a workout, then just leave it until the next day and maybe try and do it then. Don't don't be really hard on yourself, because you're kind of, as a lot of mums or pregnant mums say, I'm slacking off my exercise at the moment. So there's no need to kind of be strict on yourself with that, because in that first trimester you really don't have a lot of energy, particularly maybe if you have other children to be looking after as well. So yeah, just go, take each day as it comes and see how you feel. Sometimes when you do a workout, it's a little bit like in non-pregnant life, where you kind of you do a workout, you can't be bothered, and you're like, I'm so tired, I can't be annoyed. And then you do your workout, and then you think, oh, I'm so glad that I done that workout because I feel so much better. And it does have the same effect in pregnancy. So even if you can do a maybe 5-10 minutes, even if it's just out for a walk or something like that, just to get you a little bit active, you can get a bit of an energy boost and feel good from that. I've just written things down that people have asked me. At what point should you start to maybe do something a bit more pregnancy specific? So you'll maybe already know there is pregnancy specific classes out there. So when you want to start to look into them is maybe more in towards the second trimester, because when your body and your posture all starts to change to accommodate your growing baby and your bump, then some positions, some exercises just aren't as comfortable for you to do. Not necessarily lots of dangerous exercises as such, but certainly things that can be a bit more comfortable. So as a pregnancy instructor, I will know that trying to get you to do an exercise with your feet close together or together just isn't doable in pregnancy, just because of the change in the hips and your balance and stuff as well. So I would always tell you to seat your feet wider. Going into maybe planking positions, which includes press-ups, any type of plank, increases pressure in the abdomen, which can reduce the strength of the connective tissue down the front of the body into the abdomen, and it can put pressure on the back as well. And it can lead to things like diastasis recti, which is a separation of the abdominal muscles. You've maybe heard about that before, abdominal separation. Some people refer to it as splitting the abdominals, but it's not quite as, that sounds really severe. It's where the connective tissue it weakens, it lengthens through pregnancy, and it weakens, and it doesn't have the strength to really bring itself back in post-natally. So depending on what type of exercises you're doing through pregnancy, that can have an effect on that happening post-natally as well. So that's something that you want to keep in mind, specifically if you're in any type of plank moves. If you're doing weight training, excellent to keep that up. You just want to maybe include some breathing patterns in it as well, so that you're not holding your breath and you're not creating that pressure again in the abdomen. So I would always say from about the second trimester is where you want to maybe adapt your exercises to be something a wee bit more pregnancy specific. A pregnancy class should give you so if you're at a pregnancy class, your teacher should be checking in with you each week, so they know what week you are in pregnancy, and they should know themselves what's happening to the body that week in pregnancy as well. Like, we'll know when we are pregnant that baby's the size of this and the size of that. You know, you've got all these little great infographics telling you the baby size and stuff. Just like that, as a exercise professional taking pregnant women, I should know what's going on in your body during that week, or during those kind of 2 to 3 week changes in your body. So I would also adapt exercises to suit that as well. We also need to be aware of all the postural changes, because sometimes certain exercises, more general exercises that you would do, aren't really that effective because your posture's changed in pregnancy. And if you've had any previous injuries, so again, going to a pregnancy class and a postnatal class, you should always fill in a form telling them about any previous injuries and stuff, because quite often these previous injuries, maybe it's something you've not been bothered by for about 10 years or so, but they can start to creep in again just because of circulating hormones, and that your posture changes as well, and it puts pressure on certain bits of the body. So again, adapting exercises to suit the pregnant client, to suit you, is really a really important job for the instructor to do. So they need to know all that as well. Can you start exercising through pregnancy? If you haven't been exercising beforehand, is it a time to start exercising? And I would definitely say yes. Apart from if you're wanting to do like extreme stuff like horse riding or skiing or stuff like that, you maybe want to make it more of a kind of activity exercise rather than like a dangerous sport. So it's definitely a really, really good time to start exercising, because not only does it really help you through a lot of things in pregnancy, it helps the baby as well. And if you're in these habits in pregnancy, and then you'll be more likely to start it again postnatally, and then your baby is brought up with that from birth and they see mummy exercising, and it's just a really good place to be. Pregnancy can come with it a lot of worry and stress for people, so exercise is actually a really good way to try and calm the body down and reduce the kind of stress level. So it's ideal. It can also help you sleep a little bit better, and it can help to ease off. I'm going to talk about back pain in a wee second, but it can help to ease aches and pains that can be quite common through pregnancy. So yeah, if you have back pain, should you exercise? Then more than likely yes, because movement is medicine. I always say that to people. Movement does help the body, and sometimes when we're in pain we're scared to move. I would say, however, if it is things like pelvic girdle pain, which is pain around the pelvic area, symphysis pubis disorder, which is in the pubic bone, pain in there, sacroiliac pain, which is part of the pelvic girdle pain, which is in the pelvis, general lower back pain, maybe hip pain, thigh pain, upper back pain, all of that type of stuff. If it's causing pain, then maybe seeing a physio for that, a pregnancy specific, but certainly exercises can help to deal with that as well. And as anyone who's done any of my pregnancy classes will let you know, we always do a release session so that we are thinking about these areas that are common to be painful through pregnancy. How do we ease that off? And other kind of tips and stuff like that. I've got difficulty sleeping because my hips are sore. Well, I'll give you little tips on that as well. So yeah, you can still exercise. If you do have pelvic girdle pain and symphysis pubis disorder, things that have been diagnosed, you can still certainly do exercises. But again, as a trained professional, to tell you where to have your foot position, where to let your body weight shift, what exercises to do, what exercise to avoid, the positions and stuff, that's again part of my job to do that as well. And if you are into that third trimester later, where baby is growing, there is a little bit more weight to carry, that could be putting a bit more pressure down into the feet, down into the knees, into the pelvis. It'll be putting pressure across the lower back and into the upper back. You've got bigger boobs as well, so you're more front loaded. So your upper back, your neck, shoulders, so basically everything in the body is affected. And we take that into consideration when we're doing exercise, particularly in the third trimester. Also exercises that you can do in that third trimester to help encourage baby into a more optimal position for birth. Now this might be, even if you're having a planned C-section, having a baby in an optimal position helps because it's more comfortable for you if baby is head down as opposed to bum down and feet up, or maybe lying across the body as well. So exercising at that time and doing certain exercises to help encourage baby into that correct position, or optimal position, not correct, optimal position for birth, can really have that effect on being a more straightforward labour, straightforward birthing process, and avoiding surgery, because surgery is a major thing. It's caesarean section is the only surgery that you'll go through and be handed a baby like literally minutes later and be sent home 24 hours later expected to care for somebody. You would never have that if you had any other type of surgery. So it's a huge thing. So having your body prepared for that, which will come to the postnatal part in a wee minute, but having your body prepared for that is really, really important. So yes, exercise in that last trimester is optimal as well. Does exercise make your labour easier or shorter? Some people do say that. From personal experience, I 100% disagree with that. My first labour was pretty long, but I definitely think that if I hadn't exercised, I wouldn't have been fit enough to continue through and give birth vaginally. Whereas I think if I wasn't fitter, I would have had to have maybe had birth intervention earlier in maybe a C-section. Heidi was born via ventouse, which is a little suction cap that goes onto the head and helps to draw baby outwards. And I think that if I didn't exercise and I wasn't fit through my pregnancy, I wouldn't, and this was the when I was chatting to the midwife about this, I wouldn't have had that stamina basically to go through the full process, because it was quite long. and exhausting. So yes, in a way it can, but in a way it can't, I would say. And as I say, that's from personal experience there as well. Should you do your pelvic floor exercises when you are pregnant? Yes, you should do your pelvic floor exercises when you're pregnant. We would tend to maybe lay off them, and when we go through Fit for Delivery, I tell my girls, lay off them maybe in the last few weeks, but still continue with the breath aspect of it. If you know how to do your pelvic floor exercises properly, effectively, then you will know that it has a breath aspect to it as well. So you can still continue with that, but maybe laying off the pelvic floor lifting and stuff, just to because you're trying to tighten the pelvic floor when in fact you're going to want it to let go at some point. Yes, was that everything that people would ask? Has anyone got any questions? Just feel free to ask me as we're going through, and even if you're not pregnant yourself and you're thinking, oh, I wonder if that would help my cousin that's pregnant or whatever, feel free to ask questions as we're going through, because we have that option available to do this. So yeah, what I tend to say to mummies to be is that your recovery process can very much depend on what you do throughout your pregnancy. So if you are, and quite often we don't realise, especially first time mums don't realise, that there is a recovery process after you have babies. You may have gone through surgery, and as I say, it's the only surgery where you're handed a baby within a very short period of time, and then you're sent home again within a short period of time, maybe 48 hours or so, 24 hours sometimes. I know somebody who's been out of hospital really recently, really quickly after having a baby, a C-section, and you're then handed a baby to care for, and never mind if you've got any other children to care for as well. So it's one of those things that I think isn't really taken into consideration a lot. So we need to put a lot of things in place beforehand, and we talk about that in my Fit for Delivery course, thinking about, okay, what happens during C-section and what happens, how can you help to recover quicker? So I give you information on that you should sit and read with your partner, so that he or she understands what process you have been through and what they're going to have to do to help you after you've had surgery. Things like some girls didn't realise you would have to wear a catheter after having a C-section as well. So just little things like that you prepare. So I always say, if you were going in for a shoulder surgery, you would research it, you would know this is what they're going to do, they're working on this part, and that's how many layers they're going to work through, and afterwards I need to do this and I need to do that. But quite often we're not prepared for that because we don't think we're going to have a C-section. But just being prepared can make a big difference. A couple of the girls have said that they felt it was worthwhile doing the course only because of getting the information per week. I give you a different information document each week, and it really prepares you for the event of having a C-section. You would never ever probably go for surgery without actually having been through, researched it yourself. So, and it's not something that's gory, it's not something that's aimed to put you off or scare you in any way. It's just informative things like, yes, you have an epidural, you're not going to have any feeling in your legs afterwards, you may need help getting showered, just things like that you can put in place beforehand. So when we talk about the postnatal, the recovery period, there is a recovery period there no matter how you give birth. It's not a case of you're up and away to Aldi straight from the hospital, or you're up and away 24 hours later walking about Silverburn or whatever, because you don't get a medal for that, and you're not a hero for that. It's and that can have a knock-on effect to your recovery further down the line as well. So when we're talking about my Fit for Delivery course, it's hugely geared around preparing you for the fourth trimester. The fourth trimester is that first 3 months where you have your baby and you're also having to recover from how you've birthed and recover from pregnancy, hormonal flux and all this type of thing as well. So it focuses on preparing you for that fourth trimester, we call it. So everything that we do, the exercises we do, is always, well, this is something that you would maybe need to do after you have a baby. So you'd maybe be kneeling down and standing up, changing nappies. So that's an exercise that we would do in a pregnancy class. teaching you how to breathe along with it and teaching you how to activate your pelvic floor along with it as well, because that is one of the exercises, well, we say exercises, a movement that you're going to have to do when you have your baby. You're kneeling down, changing nappies, picking baby up, and these are the type of exercises we do to mimic those movements. They're called mummy movement patterns, and if your muscles are strong to deal with that all the way through pregnancy, you've maybe got a few weeks off, 6 weeks, maybe 12 weeks, maybe a bit longer than that, and then you can start to restore those muscles again to be strong at those exercises. So these are things that we kind of need to think about, and within 3 days you could be kneeling down and standing up on the floor. So if you've been doing this exercise up to 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, maybe 41 weeks, then once you have your baby, 3 days later, you can kneel down and stand up fairly well because you've got a base of core stability, and you've been working on that already. So that's what we do. We mimic these mummy movement patterns. So you're going to have to push things, push prams. You're going to have to pull things. You're going to have to pull car seats, lifting babies. You're going to have to twist. You're going to have to lunge, and you're going to have to squat and do these different things. So these are the type of exercises that we do. One of the main things that we talk about is activating the pelvic floor as you're doing it as well. So it's not that you have to sit and just do your pelvic floor exercises sitting still, because really we don't need your pelvic floor to be strong in that position. We need your pelvic floor to be strong when you're lifting baby, lifting car seat, pushing the pram, laughing, coughing, doing all these type of things. That's when you need your pelvic floor to be strong. So again, we mimic moves and we integrate the pelvic floor activation into your exercises so that you're putting it all together. Because the pelvic floor never ever, it doesn't just work on its own, it works with other muscles. And when you put pressure in the abdomen, that puts pressure in the pelvic floor. So it's about controlling that pelvic abdominal pressure to support the pelvic floor as well. So when we, in the 6-week Fit for Delivery course is hugely focused to that 4th trimester, that recovery period. What we do is, in the programme, you get a weekly workout, so you get a video that you can repeat as many times as you want, and the video is split up into, this is what you do your 1st trimester, this is what you do your 2nd trimester, and this is what you do your 3rd trimester. So for every one workout, you get 3 variations of that workout. Some of them cross over, so like the things that you can do in your 1st trimester, you can also do in your 2nd, or things in the 2nd, also the 1st. And it's not like once you get to that week, you must change the exercise. It's really down to you and how you feel about the exercise as well, and that's where I come in, that we would discuss how you feel about it. So you get that weekly workout video, and then you're going to have a weekly class with me as well, which was going to be run through Zoom, because that's how the world is these days. You also get, as a bonus to that, you get a specific video to help with pelvic girdle pain and back pain. So it comes into play, not that you don't get these early on in pregnancy, but certainly maybe later on in pregnancy you start to get a bit more achy and stuff. So these are really helpful for those later weeks in pregnancy, or if you get it at 20 odd weeks as well. I also give you a bonus video on specific moves to do later in pregnancy, and that's going to help move baby into a good position, and it's going to help to get them into that position, encourage baby to come down for labour to start as well. You get a pregnancy nutrition guide. My degree is in nutrition, so that's where that comes from as well. So you get a guide to vitamins, minerals, foods and stuff like that are helpful through pregnancy. You get a guide to what is a C-section, what to expect from C-section, what to expect from birth interventions, things like ventouse, episiotomy and forceps. For some reason calipers come into my mind there, but I was meaning forceps. And your guide to C-section, induction as well, that was the other one, and what to expect from these processes. And I say these documents aren't to scare you, they're ideal for you to read through with your partner so that you both know, well, I'm going in for induction. Yes, the midwife can tell you, but then when you get home, you're trying to reiterate that to your partner. So it's good just to have these things that you can read through together. You also get a bonus content on exercises to do in that early postnatal period. So we're always told, well, you may or may not know, that after a vaginal delivery, you should wait about 6 weeks to start exercising. After C-section, it's about 12 weeks to start exercising. But there is things that you can do earlier than that, and you get a video on that as well. So you're not going to come out of the hospital and 2 days later want to start doing this, but it is there so that you can say, I'm getting a wee bit sore, I'm getting a wee bit tight, what can I do to help that? Because you're going to be seated for long periods of time, particularly if you're breastfeeding, you're going to be sat for long periods of time, probably with your posture like all over the place, and you just get back pain, you get upper neck pain, shoulder pain, things like this. And a lot of these exercises are just to help to ease the body and just encourage a wee bit movement. So you get that as well, along with an early postnatal nutrition guide as well. So you get all that as part of it. The aim of the 6-week course, as I say, is to prepare you for the 4th trimester. It's all about posture. So because your posture changes so much in pregnancy, what can we do to help that, and how can we make it more comfortable for you? We also do the mummy movement patterns, which I've spoken about. So exercises that would mimic things that you're going to do as a new mum. They're called functional movements. So things that are real to life, like the kneeling down and standing up and holding the baby while you're having to stand up and you're not having to climb over towards the couch and heave yourself up. Proper ways to pick up the baby that aren't going to affect your core or put extra pressure on your core, and introducing that pelvic floor and core integration into your exercises. So what it does is it helps to, during the pregnancy period is when we want to think about what we're doing to help recovery. What are you doing just now that you're thinking about that? Because as I say, a lot of the time we don't think about that process. So that's what it's aimed at. It's aimed to give you the tools there, and it's good to chat to other mums to see how they're feeling about things. One week you feel like superwoman, the next week you don't. The exercises aren't. It's not like you're not coming along to a MetaFit style class. You are coming along to do some movement and focus on posture, focus on the deep core muscles, because those are the ones that we need to stay strong to help with our posture, to reduce the pelvic girdle pain, and we need them to restore quickly after you've had birth. We don't need to lose weight quickly after we've had birth. We need our body to be functional and pain-free after we've had birth. So that's what the aim of the exercises is. Are that they help with that, as opposed to thinking about, I need to lose my baby weight, I want to look like I've not had a baby. Well, I'm sorry, but you've had a baby, so you're probably going to look like you've had a baby. Even 2 or 3 years down the line, you have had a baby. So it's kind of, we as pregnant women and postnatally, we're like, oh my God, I need to be in my skinny jeans within 6 weeks. And the person who posts a picture of themselves on Instagram in their skinny jeans has probably done it first thing in the morning when they haven't eaten anything. And they've probably taken them right off after about 2 minutes, and they're taking about 30 photos to get the right picture. They're in their skinny jeans, but they've probably taken them off right away because they are not comfortable 6 weeks later. I think I was still in my maternity jeans up to about 3 or 4 months later. So definitely not in my skinny jeans. And it's about being realistic, and I kind of prepare you a lot for mummyhood. There's a lot of kind of mental preparation as well, and there's things that we don't expect that are going to happen that will happen. So one of the things that we talk about throughout the course is hormone change. So when you're in that postnatal period, those early weeks postnatal, your hormone levels mimic what they do through the menopause. So you have hot sweats, you can't sleep. Well, you can't sleep because your baby's got you up all night anyway. You have hot flushes, your body is achy, it's sore, and it's all to do with your hormones. And as I say, it mimics what we go through in the menopause. So to expect you to just be able to bounce back after you've had a baby isn't really going to happen. And I let people know that because I don't want you to think of, I don't want to give you false expectations, and I've not been doom and gloom about it, but it's good to know that yes, your core function probably isn't going to be as good. You might feel a wee bit leakage after you've had your babies, but there is things that we can do to improve that as well. So it's about being realistic, preparing you for that 4th trimester, and encouraging you to stay active and well throughout your pregnancy, because it's very good for you physically, and it's very good for you mentally and emotionally, because it's a very emotional time being pregnant and in that postnatal period, because the hormones are up and down, they're kind of all over the place at that time. So it's very important that you're aware of that, and you're bringing in help with that as well. So speaking to maybe parents or friends, and making sure you've got a bit of a community there, and we talk about that throughout the course. So I have been asked loads through lockdown about this because I hadn't done any pregnancy classes, and the way that I had run my pregnancy classes, it wasn't quite ideal, but I've kind of decided to change that and change the way that I've run it so that I can run a course online. So we're going to start in 2 weeks' time, and the 6-week course, £69 for the 6-week course, and you get basically the information drip feeded to you each week so that you're not kind of bombarded with it all. I've had lots of people ask me about pregnancy, and that's why I had just drafted up all those questions, because at this time loads of people have been asking about what they can do and stuff as well. So my main thing would be make sure that the person you're getting exercise advice, just because they've had a baby and they're a fitness instructor doesn't actually mean that they're qualified to take you through your pregnancy from a fitness perspective. So make sure they have the relevant qualifications. Make sure the right focus is there. So think about what do you want to think about. Do you want to just kind of stay active and not really think about what's going to happen after the baby's here, or do you want to be quite prepared for that and know this is what I can do postnatally as well for myself? This is how I'm going to feel postnatally. Do you want to be prepared for that as well? Then it's definitely, this course is ideal for you, and it's something that you want to work with your partners as well. So we're going to do it slightly different. We're going to have a little bit of an education session, and we'll cover a different topic each week, and your partner can sit in on that as well, or they can certainly watch it. You'll get all of the sessions recorded as well, so they can watch it at a later time, and you get to ask all the questions as well, anything else that you think. I'm also going to speak to a couple of my other colleagues, see if they can do a little video for us, like women's health professional, my pregnancy massage girl, a midwife who runs hypnobirthing as well, and I want them to give us a wee bit of insight into it. Different things for you as well. So I'm going to speak to them, see if they can get involved. So I'm going to love you and leave you. So if you've got any questions at all about Fit for Delivery, I can't remember the date off the top of my head. It's the start of July. The middle of July. I want to say it's like the 21st of July or something. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But I'll make it up and it'll go onto the website and stuff soon. But if you do have any questions about it, drop me a message, give me your email address, and I'll put you on the mailing list for it. I've already got 3 people wanting priority booking for it, and I was going to just do 4 people for it, but I think I'm going to have to update it to about make it up to about 6 people, which I would normally take in a 1-to-1 class, a physical class, but because we're on Zoom, so we're going to do 6 weeks from them. If you can only do 4 weeks because you're at that stage, don't worry, you can just sign up and do the 4 weeks. That's completely fine. We can work that out between us, but I would advise doing the 6 weeks if you can. And as I say, the exercises you do as much or as little as you want at the class, just see how you feel. And yeah, it's a great class. So hopefully I'll see some of you there. If you've got any questions about exercise and pregnancy or that postnatal period, please don't hesitate to ask. I will let you go. I'm going to finish my cup of tea. What have I been on? 30 minutes? I was aiming for about 15, but there we go. Sorry for keeping you. Hopefully it was helpful. Hopefully you've had a wee bit more insight. It's maybe made you think a little bit about things and stuff as well. So if you've got anything to ask, please don't hesitate. Have a good evening, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.